Hello, my name's George English. I'm the Director of Research Through People. And obviously people who are thinking about doing this wonder what it's like and so forth. And so what we've got tonight is Peter and Jenny Bennett, Susan and Peter Bennett, and Mike and Kay Farley, who've recently had us help them look at their ancestry. So what hopefully they will do is share their thoughts and views that may help you if you're thinking about doing this. So Peter, why don't you introduce yourself, and then we'll go around and then we can talk about how you found things.
Yeah. Good evening. My name's Peter Bennett. I live in Somerset, but my upbringing was in West Yorkshire, and I spent some time abroad during my life, and my father also died relatively young. So I realized 5-10 years ago, perhaps, that I knew nothing about one side of my family history. And I had a go at trying to do my own research, but researching is not my forte. And I went down all sorts of wrong routes and wasted a lot of time. And then George was brought to my notice through a talk he did to our Rotary Club. And we employed George to do all the hard work for us. And the benefit of that is that I now have knowledge of my father's family, the Bennett side of the family, going back to pre-1800 now. So that is absolutely fantastic.
Good. So Jenny.
Hello, I'm Jenny Bennett. That's Peter's other half. Peter and I have been married now for 47 years. And when the opportunity came up to investigate Peter's father's side of the family, I decided that as I was the only surviving member of my family, i.e. my mother and my father who both passed away, and my brother sadly passed away, I had no connection with quite a lot of my cousins, particularly on my father's side. So I asked George at the same time as Peter, virtually, if he would mind checking into my mother's side of the family. And what this has brought out has been an awful lot of information, some of it of which, even names of cousins I didn't even know. That's all been brought to the fore, and I really do thank you, George, for helping me with this. And I have a great big long family tree now, going back to about 1700. So there's still an awful lot of branches of the family. There's just so much you discover going through this procedure that it's unbelievable. And anyway, I've got so much out of this. It's been an absolute joy.
That's good. Sue.
Right, I'm Susan Burnett. I was Susan Bennett, and I'm Peter's cousin, because his father and my father were brothers. Peter and I, my husband, live in Mirfield, West Yorkshire, and we've been absolutely fascinated by this and delighted that we've met up again with Peter, who we hadn't seen since my father's funeral in 1996. So this has been a very moving journey for us. And also we met up with somebody from another branch of the family, the Hoyles, which you'll perhaps hear about later. And that again was very, very interesting. Peter.
Peter.
Peter Burnett. Confusion with Peters and Bennett and Burnett it gets complicated, but I'm the least Bennett here, I think. We originate from North Yorkshire, and we've been in Yorkshire for the last 4-5 generations, 6 generations, which my stepmother has done a lot of family history, but she keeps hold of it and she's got it all.
Yeah.
So
right.
I'm not involved in this. But
yeah. Right, thank you.
Is it you?
I don't know.
You go first.
Right. I'm Kay Farley. I'm Susan's sister and Peter's cousin.
We are living in Scotland now. We've been in Scotland for over 40 years, but our roots are well and truly in West Yorkshire. In doing the research, George, you've managed to introduce us again to Peter. It's 25 years since we've met Peter and Jenny, and that's been a really good thing. We've also met a cousin of my father, as Susan said, from the Hoyle branch of the family, who we'd also lost touch with. We did try very early on, once we, before we were married, in fact, to do a bit of research into our families. And we did talk to a lot of the older relations, which within 2 or 3 years of us doing that would no longer have been possible. So we did have a bit of family history, but you found out so much more for us.
Yeah, especially for me, because I discovered I didn't come from Yorkshire at all, or I was only very shallow Yorkshire roots. So having supported everything Yorkshire all my life, I'm now having to admit to having some background in Lancashire and some background in Devon, which I would never have imagined. So that's been really interesting. And just to see all the detail that George produced so quickly, and all written up beautifully and referenced, so much easier than trying to do it yourself. But as you say, Peter, so much better. And we've been able to concentrate on doing things in parallel, digging out old photographs and cross-referencing them to the family tree. So we've had a great time. It's kept us quite busy.
That's good.
Been a good lockdown project.
No, it's like that, isn't it? I was going to say, what do you get out of this? I mean, you started to say that, but other things that you've got out of this that anyone want to?
Well, I didn't mention when I first spoke, it's been so wonderful to meet my long lost cousins again. And if it wasn't for this COVID thing, I'm sure we would have got together by now. But I'm ever so grateful to Susan and Kay for producing so much family memorabilia, the photographs and the certificates, all the things that you've unearthed have just been absolutely amazing. I think the thing that I've found most amazing was the portrait of William Bennett.
Yes.
Great grandfather and his wife and daughters. That was incredible. I think we have so much resemblance to Edward VII.
You may think so.
Well, he does. He does.
And of course, we discovered, because of something that was written on the back of it, that he'd worked at Queensbury. We discovered, and then we tied up that with the dates that George had found where he was living in Queensbury. It was exactly when the Queensbury Tunnel was built. So he worked on the Queensbury Tunnel, which is quite famous in that West Yorkshire. It's one of the longest and deepest tunnels in the country.
I think exploring the occupations of our ancestors and what they actually did and where they lived has also been fascinating, and looking at how the occupations changed and how they moved from one place to another depending on their occupations.
Yeah, they followed the work, didn't they?
I was just going to say, marrying into the Bennett family, I was actually quite horrified, well, not horrified, but quite charmed to find out that I was actually, my family does originate, would you believe, from Yorkshire. So being married to someone who was born and brought up in Yorkshire, I actually have the heritage as well. But the rest of my family all lived in South Lincolnshire, North and then South Lincolnshire, which has been an interesting fact that I didn't know about. Having lived there when Peter and I, soon after in the 80s, Peter and I lived in Holbeach for a couple of years, and finding out that the majority of my relatives came from that area, which I had no idea at the time. It was completely ironic.
there's a lot of things you'll be able to do. Go back and look for gravestones.
Absolutely, yes, yes,
We're able to
yes.
get out and about.
Yeah. My cousin Alan, on my mother's side of the family, Alan Titterington, he's we're having a Zoom meeting on Thursday with him. He's about 85 now, but he's absolutely dying to show me around the area. He's seen a copy of George's report, and he said, I know everywhere like the back of my hand. He said, I can take you around all the graveyards and the Sowerby Church. There's an awful lot of Titteringtons buried there, as well as Bennetts. So,
Yes.
All right.
Right.
Yeah.
Were there any other pleasant surprises that you got?
One of mine was, and George knows this very well, up until about the age of 16, every year I used to get a dollar sent to me from Ontario. And of course, as a child, that is an absolute precious gift. And I'd completely forgotten about this until recently, when we started the delving into the family history. And I've not only found that this money every year, or $1 came from my great aunt Jenny, and it was only after the investigations that I found that her name was Mary Jane Mason, and she was actually married to my grandmother's brother, and they emigrated to Canada in 1920. And through various generations that are out in the United States, I think it's second cousin twice removed, she actually sent me a copy of her obituary. And sadly, that was in 1967, which when I was 16. So it just all sort of ties in. And that was a lovely surprise to find that out, that I could track her down and find out what happened to her. And she was at the age of 90. She did really well to send me a gift every year. And I was very flattered with that. But that was lovely.
Yeah. Sue?
Yeah, it was fascinating to see how the families were connected to Sowerby from on my mother's side and my father's side, and it seemed to be all around. So the chapel at Sowerby and the churches at Sowerby, in the Ancestry, and going back there,
They met at the tennis club, didn't they?
Yes.
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 Yeah.
Yes.
And the report itself, any other comments on that?
I just go to say, I was amazed. I didn't know what to expect at all. Never having had a report like this before, and the amount of detail that you've included in it is quite incredible. I'm still digesting parts of it. Sort of 6 or 8 weeks after I first saw it. I keep finding new bits, and I think, I must follow that up. I haven't even got to the Whiteheads yet.
There's just so much.
Yeah, all the census reports and looking at the jobs that they had and who was living in the houses, and also the pictures that you'd included of the houses and where they'd lived and things. I thought that was very good. Very good.
Maps
Yeah,
were very useful.
maps. Yeah.
Yes.
It's interesting how often they had other people living with them in the houses, didn't they? They had lodgers.
Yes.
Or servants.
Sometimes servants, sometimes
some
lodgers.
from Yorkshire, some from London were with my great grandparents in Greater Grimsby, I think it was, when they lived there. It's amazing how well it was obviously just to pay their way, wasn't it? They had these lodgers, I'm sure.
The way that you'd laid everything out, George, I thought it was very professional, and it was easy to follow, even though there was so much detail in it.
Good. And the service from research through people, any comments on that?
Well, that you were very fast and you were not too expensive either. now that we've finished, now that we're not negotiating, no, you weren't. It was good value and very quick.
Yeah, the information provided is in great detail. I must admit, and to find out so much information with all the censuses and censuses, I can't even say the word, going back to the 1841 census. Was
Also, I think you're, it was interesting how you were very careful to double check things rather than, I think it is quite easy to be led in the wrong direction if you just take the first thing that you find, isn't it?
Yeah.
And
Yes,
you've
I
always
found
got
that when I was trying to do the research, I went down the wrong track several times.
Yeah.
It gets very frustrating because things don't fit, and you know it's not right, but you've got one or two names that you think, well, that's got to be that, and it's not.
It's surprising how many people of similar names there are, even in quite small places, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. The other thing, George, is you were very communicative. You were very good on emailing us when you discovered something.
Yes.
Just with a little taster before the report was ready.
Yeah.
Well, thanks very much for that. I think we could carry on for a long time, but for anyone watching this, hopefully that's been very helpful. People actually talking about what they've got out of this, etc. Research review, we're delighted if you'd like to get in touch, and we'll see if we can do something of the same for yourselves. So thanks very much to all of you, and we'll say goodbye there.
Bye.